Hey everybody, welcome back once again to my little slice of the internet. Today we're going to do a couple more of the deck techs from the Pauper Punch-Out series. So let's jump right into it. First one we're going to do is the Mono Black Burn. So I'm going to start off with the creatures like I always do, and we're going to start into it, and we play the Gruul Draz Vampire. Man, I can't talk right now. For 1 black, 1/1, and as long as your opponent has 10 or less life, this gains +2/+1 and has Intimidate. So it cannot be blocked except for artifact creatures and or creatures that share a color with it. So it would have to be a black creature of some sort. We play 4 of those. And then we play 4 copies of the Changeling Outcast for 1 black and 1/1. It has Changeling, and it cannot block and can't be blocked. So this will count as all creature types on the battlefield. We play 4 of those. And the final 4 creatures is the Prickly Boggart for 1 black, 1/1 with Fear. So Fear and Intimidate are quite similar. So Fear is, it cannot be blocked by creatures unless they are artifact creatures or black creatures instead of just creatures that share a color with it. And we play 4 of those. So that rounds out all the creatures in the deck. It is not based around creatures for this because it is called Mono Black Burn. So now we will jump into the sorceries. So the first sorcery will be Tyrant's Choice. 1 and a black. It has Will of the Council, so starting with you, each player votes for death or torture. If death gains more votes, each opponent sacrifices a creature. If torture gets more votes, or the votes are tied, each opponent loses 4 life. So this is how you can burn them for 4 life if you tie. And we play 4 of those. And then we play Fruit of Tizerus. So for 1 black, target player loses 2 life. It also has Escape for 3 and a black, and exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. So you do that, and you can play this once more to also take 2 life away from them. So we play 2 of those. We play Sign in Blood for 2 black. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. So you can either do it to yourself, or you can force your opponent to draw cards and lose 2 life. So we do play 4 of those. Then Soul Reap for 1 and a black. Destroy target non-green creature. Its controller loses 3 life if you played another black spell this turn. So as long as you're playing other spells, you're going to burn him for 3 life and also get rid of something as long as it's not green. And we play 4 of those. Not a great card against a mono green deck, but it does help. Then Sovereign's Bite for 1 and a black. Target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So there's a way to burn 3 more life off of them. Play 4 copies of that. Then we play Bump in the Night for 1 black, and target opponent loses 3 life. And then you have Flashback for 5 and a red to play it from your graveyard, and then exiles after you've played it the second time. We have 4 of those for the deck. And the final 4 sorceries, we play Morsel Theft for 2 and 2 black tribal sorcery for rogues. It has Prowl for 1 and a black, which means you can play this for its prowl cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with a rogue, which we do have the Changeling, which is a rogue in the deck. So we play 4 copies of this. It deals 3 damage to target player and you gain 3 life, and if its prowl cost was paid, you can draw a card. So that will round us out for the sorceries. As you can tell, a lot of sorceries are played because it is more burning than it is combat damage for this deck. Then we will go into the instants. So for the instants, we play 4 copies of Geth's Verdict, which is a black. Target player sacrifices a creature and loses 1 life. So if they've only got 1 really big creature on the field, that's a way to get it off the field and then make them lose some life. We play 4 copies of that. And then after that, we go into the land base. That was the rest of the spells for this deck. So for the land base, we play 2 copies of Piranha Marsh. It enters tapped and taps for a black, and then when it enters, target player loses 1 life. So just by playing a land, you can burn your opponents down just that little bit. And in a 20 life game, 1 life can mean life or death. We play 2 of those. We play 2 copies of Rakdos Carnarium. It enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters, you have to bounce a land back to your hand, but when it untaps, you do have access to a black and a red mana, not just 1 color. And that's where we get the red mana for the cost on the sorcery that has flashback. And then we just got a number of swamps. 13, because it's my favorite number. It is tattooed across my fingers. So 13 swamps for 17 lands altogether, which is more than you need because this deck does run off a lot of very low cost spells. And that is our mono black burn. Join us back here in just a second, and I will show you the Gruul Burn deck that we played on Pauper Punch-Out. All right, welcome back. I will show you the Gruul deck now. It is Gruul Burn. So, like the mono black burn that you saw a moment ago, it doesn't go off creatures more than it goes off spells. So instants and sorceries, that's what really helps the deck win. But we do need some creatures to block or to help us facilitate that death. So we start off with 4 copies of the Kiln Fiend for 1 in the black 1/2 elemental beast, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this gets +3/+0. So if you can cast 3 or more at a turn, you're going to make this one big creature. So you got 4 copies of that. We play 4 copies of the Burning-Tree Emissary. It does have the hybrid green-red mana 2 times. For a 2/2 human shaman, when it enters the battlefield, you add a red and a green to your mana pool. So this will help you jump into some extra spells as well. Play 4 copies of that. And then for the final creature that we play in the deck, we got 4 copies of Gutter Snipe. 2 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Shaman, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Gutter Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. So again, as long as you're playing spells, you are still going to burn your opponents with just using your creatures on the battlefield as well. So we only have 12 creatures in the entire deck, and that's only 3 creatures with 4 copies of each. So then we will go into the sorceries. We're going to start off with the sorceries with 2 copies of Flame Slash. For 1 red, it deals 4 damage to target creature. Pretty helpful when you need to keep some of their creatures off the field. And then we play 2 copies of Fireball because it is Fireball, it is Burn, and it's an underutilized card in a lot of formats. So X and a red. And this spell costs 1 more to cast for each target beyond the first. So it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. So if you put 10 into it, that's 10 damage dealt to 1 target. Or you split it up however you need to. So we played 2 of those. There is a really great old combo that was Channel and Fireball, but Channel is banned, so we cannot play it in Pauper. Also, it is a channel on the internet. You've probably seen it multiple times if you're following Magic formats. So if you could have had both, this is a quick way to win the game, but we only get 1. And then we're going to play 4 copies of Lava Coil. For 1 in a red, it deals 4 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So another way to keep that board clear. So 4 copies of that. And then the final 2 sorceries that we play is just 2 copies of Skewer the Critics. For 2 in a red, you can deal 3 damage to any target. But you could also pay its spectacle cost for 1. You may cast this spell for its spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn. So if you find a way to burn them, this will only cost you 1 red mana. And we play 2 of those. And that is all the sorceries for the deck. And now we will get into the real meat, the real burn of it, which is instants. So we'll start off with 4 copies of Shock. Very nice, very old school, just automatically 2 damage to target creature or player. Just 1 mana. We play 4 copies of that. We play 2 copies of Fire Blast, which is 4 and a red. You can sacrifice 2 mountains instead of paying this mana cost if you need to, but it'll deal 4 damage to target creature or player. So almost any target that's not a planeswalker. But there are no planeswalkers in the Pauper format yet, so we're still pretty good on that one. So 2 copies there. And to no surprise, we play 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. For 1 red, you deal 3 damage to target creature or player. I do believe this now says any target, but still, 3 damage for 1 mana. That's very nice. So we do play 4 of those. And then we play 4 copies of Manamorphose for 1 and a hybrid red-green. You get 2 mana in any combination of colors and draw a card. So this will help you draw into other cards and also pump into some of those other burn spells after playing this. We play 4 copies. We play 2 copies of Smash to Smithereens for 1 and a red. Destroy target artifact. Smash to Smithereens deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. So as long as they have at least 1 artifact on the field, you will burn them for another 3 damage. We play 2 copies of that. Then we have 2 copies of Abrade. For 1 and a red, you get to choose one. You can either deal 3 damage to target creature or destroy an artifact. Both viable options. So 2 of those. And then the last 3 instants we play in the deck are 3 copies of Lava Dart. Lava Dart deals 3 damage to any target, and it has flashback as long as you sacrifice a mountain. You play this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, which is that mountain, and then it'll get exiled after it resolves. So we play 3 of those. And that is all of the spells for the deck. Obviously, as you can tell, it is all burn. It is necessary to only play burn because creatures do not help you win this game with that deck. And then after that, it is just lands. And we play 17 mountains. With 17 mountains, and we have a lot of low-cost stuff, we can just jump right into it. Late game fireballs. If we got 5 out there, we're dealing 4 damage off that fireball. That's still a good chunk of somebody's life. That's 1/5 of their life in Pauper because it is a 20 life format. And that is Gruul Burn. I have thought about just changing this over to mono red burn, but I kind of like the option to have the green to help with the Manamorphose to draw into other cards. So let me know what you guys think out there, and if you got any comments, if you have ideas for other Pauper decks, please put it down in the comments. I will happily look into that and make some more decks. And until then, make sure you like and subscribe, and game on.